Welcome to 7-1. I am Sergeant Pettis. For those of you who don't know me, I am the supply NCO here for the unit. Today we are going to cover the Army's Equal Opportunity Program, referencing AR 600-20, Army Command Policy, Chapter 6, and all related messages governing equal opportunity during today's lesson. So obviously this virtual drill is different. We're not going to be in a traditional briefing style. So I just want to pose a question for you guys to think about your soldiers that you have in the unit. How many of you are actually from Oklahoma? How many of you are from Western Oklahoma? How many of you are from Eastern Oklahoma or aren't even from the state at all? When you think about that and people living in different locations, do they sound the same way that you speak? Do they eat the same type of foods? So the Army, despite our differences, we are all soldiers, and understanding that and accepting those differences is vital to the Army accomplishing its mission. As soldiers, you directly affect the Equal Opportunity Program in your unit. A unit that has no tolerance for violations of dignity and respect of its members will be a successful one. You are a key to a successful Equal Opportunity Program. So this slide that we're on right now, too, at the completion of this lesson, you will be able to correctly identify the components of the Army's Equal Opportunity Program and complaint process. Next slide. The Army EO Program. The Army will provide equal opportunity and fair treatment for military personnel and family members without the regard to race, color, national origin, religion, sex, including gender identity, or sexual orientation, which are known as the basis of discrimination. The Army will also provide an environment free of unlawful discrimination and offensive behavior. The EO policy applies both on and off duty, during working, living, or recreational environments, as also while utilizing social media. Our next bullet is fair treatment. What do you think fair treatment should be based on? So again, like I said, this is different than our traditional style of briefing. Most of you are going to be coordinating with your squad leaders or your platoon sergeants to talk about these briefings. So I encourage you to take notes if you guys have any questions about the material that's covered today, or on any of these scenarios that I read over or questions that are asked, that you jot those down so you can discuss those with your fellow battle buddies. The EO program formulates, directs, and sustains a comprehensive effort to maximize human potential and ensure fair treatment for all persons based solely on merit, fitness, and capability and supportive readiness. What is the definition or give an example of merit? Merit is the quality of work being particularly good or worthy, deserving of praise or reward. Also, too, when you guys are writing down notes, go ahead and jot down what you think fitness is and capability. The Army defines these as the quality of being suitable to fulfill a particular role or task, or the skill or aptitude of ability to do something. Why do you think a person would not receive fair treatment based on merit, fitness, and capability? Prejudice. Prejudice may be a word that comes to mind when you think of someone who does or does not receive fair treatment. Prejudice is defined as an unreasonable negative attitude or feeling towards others because of their membership in a particular group. What are some examples of prejudice? So the text provides these: all Asians are smart, all Muslims are terrorists, or all women are bad drivers. These are examples of prejudice. And then our last bullet here, discrimination. So what do you think is the difference between prejudice and discrimination? Discrimination is any action that unlawfully or unjustly results in unequal treatment of persons or groups based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, including gender identity, or sexual orientation. Discrimination occurs when our prejudice are acted upon. Next slide. Okay. So, what are some types of discrimination? Basis of discrimination, there are 6 types: race, color, national origin, religion, sex, including gender identity, or sexual orientation. I'm going to say that a lot, so hopefully, repetition, you guys can remember those 6 categories. What is the definition or give an example of race discrimination? Race discrimination includes treating someone unfavorably because he or she is of a certain race or because of personal characteristics associated with race, such as hair texture, skin color, or certain facial features. So the Army defines 5 race groups. That's American Indian or Alaskan Native, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North and South America, including Central America, and who maintains tribal affiliation or community attachment. Asian, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of the Far East, Southeast Asia, or Indian subcontinents, including Cambodia, China, India, Japan, Korea, Malaysia, and Pakistan, the Philippine Islands, Thailand, and Vietnam. Black or African American, a person having origins in any of the Black racial groups of Africa or America. Native Hawaiian or other specific islander, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Hawaii, Guam, Samoa, I'm definitely mispronouncing that, or any Pacific Islands. White, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. Ethnicity is a cultural concept in which a large group of people who shared, learned, or acquired traits and close social interaction regard themselves and are regarded by others as constituting a single group on that bias. Ethnicity differs from race in that members within a racial category may identify with one or more ethnic groups based on cultural or national origin characteristics. So, i.e., customs, traditions, languages, either retained or passed on through generations. The 2 ethnic groups are. Okay, so this is one thing that keeps changing. This one actually changed this year when I went to school. We now, in the Army, recognize up to 21 different ethnic categories. So, can race, color discrimination occur when the victim and the person who perpetrated the discrimination are of the same race or color? Absolutely. Discrimination can occur when the victim and the person who perpetrated the discrimination are the same race or color. Can color demonstrate? Why can I not say that word? Discrimination occur when the victim is white. Race color discrimination can also involve treating someone unfavorably because the person is married to or associated with a person of a certain race or color, or because of a person's connection with a group that is generally associated with people of a certain color. National origin discrimination involves treating people unfavorably because they are from a particular country or part of the world because of ethnicity or accent, or because they appear to be of a certain ethnic background. National origin discrimination also involves treating people unfavorably because they are married to or associated with a person of a certain national origin, or because of their connection with an ethnic organization or group. Discrimination can occur when the victim and the person who inflicted the discrimination are of the same national origin. Do you think that national origin discrimination is prevalent today? So any of these examples that I give throughout this text are actually things that have happened in the Army that I'm referencing. I did not make them up. One of the examples given here for national origin discrimination: while reciting the soldier's creed, a drill sergeant would not allow a soldier born in Russia to say, "I am an American soldier." The soldier had to respond with, "I am a Russian soldier." Religious discrimination. This involves treating a person unfavorably because of his or her religious beliefs. Religious discrimination can also involve treating someone differently because that person is married to or associated with an individual of a particular religion, or because of his or her connection with a religious organization or group. Can someone file a religious discrimination complaint if they do not belong to an organized religion? The law protects not only people who belong to traditional organized religions such as Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, and Judaism, but also others who have sincerely held religious, ethical, or moral beliefs. It also affords protection for non-religious personnel. And this is also a category that changes often, where the Army recognizes different religious practices. And if you guys would like a list or update on that, you can get with myself or Sergeant Presley. Our next basis of discrimination is sex. Involves treating someone unfavorably because of that person's sex or gender identity. It also can involve treating someone less favorably because of his or her connection with an organization or group that is generally associated with people of a certain gender or sex. What are some examples of sex discrimination or sexist behavior? Sexism is defined as the attitude or belief that one sex is superior to the other. This also includes discrimination against an individual because of gender identity, or transgender status. Sexual orientation discrimination refers to unlawful discrimination based on a person's emotional, romantic, and/or sexual attraction to individuals of a particular gender. What are some examples of discrimination based on sexual orientation? So an example that they give here is a platoon sergeant prefers lesbian soldiers because they are less maintenance and don't get pregnant. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, or heterosexual are the most common referred sexual orientations. Sexual orientation is sometimes referred to as sexual preference, though the term adds the concept of sexuality as fluid and incorporates the element of choice. Next slide, please. Religious accommodations. So the Army places a high value on the rights of its soldier to observe tenets of their respective religions, or to observe no religion at all. There are 5 major areas of accommodation: worship, dietary, medical accommodations may be approved by the local commander, accommodations for wear and appearance of the uniform and grooming practices, all approved religious accommodation waivers will continue throughout the individual's career. Submission of a new request for accommodation is not required unless the soldier has a break in service longer than a year or is requesting a modification of previously approved waiver. So the question that's asked, are commanders required to approve religious accommodation requests? So, request to individual expressions of sincerely held beliefs, so i.e. if it is a protected religious practice outlined by the Army's identification. Held beliefs should be approved when accommodation does not adversely affect unit and individual readiness, unit cohesion, morale and good order and discipline, safe and health of the soldier, and the ability for the unit to accomplish a mission, and this is at the commander's discretion. Next slide. Harassment. So, going to pose a scenario for you guys. So, imagine senior leaders gather you all up for your AT, and they take you across a creek during a challenge, like a physical challenge. The purpose of this exercise is to physically demand and challenge you as a soldier to execute a team-building training session, which includes a series of physical and mentally demanding obstacles. Is that something that you would consider harassment? What is considered harassment? Harassment is the behavior that is unwelcome or offensive to a reasonable person, whether oral, written, or physical, that creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment. Harassment can occur through electronic communications, including social media or other forms of communication, and in person. Harassment may include offensive jokes, ridicule, mockery, insults, put-downs, displays of offensive objects or imagery, stereotyping, intimidating acts, veiled threats of violence, threatening or provoking remarks, racial or other slurs, derogatory marks about a person's accent or displays of racial offensive symbols, activities or actions undertaken for a proper military or governmental purpose, such as combat survival training, are not considered harassment. Discriminatory harassment, a form of harassment that is unwelcome conduct based on race, color, religion, sex, including gender identity, national origin, or sexual orientation. The definition of hazing is a form of harassment that includes conduct through which soldiers or DoD employees, without a proper military or governmental purpose, but with a nexus to military service, physically or psychologically injures or creates a risk of physical or psychological injury to soldiers for the purpose of initiation into, affiliation with, change in status or position within, or a conduct for continued membership in any military or DoD civilian organization. Hazing can be conducted through the use of electronic devices or communications, and by other means, including social media, as well as in person. Hazing is evaluated by reasonable person standards and includes, but is not limited to, the following when performed when a proper military or other governmental purpose. Any form of initiating or congratulating act that involves physical striking of another person in any manner or threatening to do the same, pressing any object into another person's skin, regardless of whether it pierces the skin, such as pinning or tacking on of rank insignia, aviator wings, jump wings, diver insignia, badges, medals, or any other object, oral or written berating of another person with the purpose of belittling or humiliating, encouraging another person to engage in illegal, harmful, or demeaning dangerous acts, playing abusive or malicious tricks, branding, subjecting another person to excessive or abusive use of water, subjecting another person or forcing a person to consume food, alcohol, drugs, or any other substance, soliciting, coercing, or knowingly permitting another person to solicit or coercive acts of hazing. Hazing does not include properly directed command or organizational activities that serve a proper military or other governmental purpose, or the requisite training activities required to prepare for such activities. Service members may be responsible for an act of hazing even if there was an actual or an implied consent from the victim, regardless of the grade or rank, status, or service of the victim. Hazing is prohibited in all circumstances and environments, including on and off duty. Bullying. Bullying is a form of harassment that includes acts of aggression by service members or DoD civilian employees with a nexus to military service with the intent of harming a service member either physically, psychologically, without a proper military or governmental purpose. Bullying may involve the singling out of an individual from his or her coworkers or unit for ridicule because he or she is considered different or weak. It often involves an imbalance of power between the aggressor and the victim. Bullying can be conducted through the use of electronic devices or communications and by other means, including social media, as well as in person. Retaliation. Retaliation encompasses illegal, impermissible, or hostile actions taken by a soldier's chain of command, peers, or coworkers as a result of making or being suspected of making a protected communication. Retaliation for reporting a criminal offense can occur in several ways, including reprisal. Investigation of complaints of non-criminal retaliatory acts other than reprisal will be processed within the Army's regulations. Additional retaliation behaviors include ostracism, maltreatment, and criminal acts for a retaliatory purpose in connection with an alleged related offense. So we'll talk about responsibilities now. All soldiers are responsibility for the following: promptly report matters to the chain of command, supervision, if they experience or witness any incidents of mistreatment of persons, hazing, bullying, online misconduct, or any other forms of misconduct. 2, conduct yourselves in accordance with this paragraph and treat all persons as they should be treated with dignity and respect. 3, intervene or prevent, if safe to do so, mistreatment of persons such that incidents are addressed at the lowest possible level. Commanders have specific responsibilities as they include publishing and posting command policy statements on the treatment of persons. They must conduct hazing and bullying training for their unit annually. Lastly, they must report all allegations of hazing or bullying to their Equal Opportunity Advisor for input into the Equal Opportunity Reporting System. Okay, next slide. Online conduct. So this is huge. This is so huge. A lot of times, especially with the National Guard, you guys get on there and you tweet the things and you say the comments and you do all the mean things behind that smoke screen that is your phone. You can still get in trouble for online misconduct even when you're not at drill weekend. Just want to make that abundantly clear. Online conduct is the use of electronic communication in an official or personal capacity that is consistent with the Army values and standards of conduct. Think, type, post. Think, what message image will be sent? Who will potentially view it and what impact will it have? Messages or images consistent with the Army values is what you should type. And post or send if the message image demonstrates dignity and respect for self and others. The importance of think, type, post, and the necessity to ensure that they are 100% certain that the text, email, picture, and or video they are about to send meets the standards of acceptable Army conduct. Online misconduct is the use of electronic communication to inflict harm. Examples include harassment, bullying, hazing, stalking, discrimination, retaliation, and any other types of misconduct that undermine dignity and respect as required by the Army values. As members of the Army team, individuals' interactions offline and online reflect on the Army and its values. The Army values apply to all aspects of our life, including online conduct. The evolution of the internet, social media, and other electronic communications over the last decade has altered how people communicate and interact. Protected by a sense of anonymity and the lack of accountability, some individuals in society are participating in inappropriate and potential harmful interactions using electronic communications. So, jot down some examples of online misconduct. Incidents of online misconduct should be reported to your supervisor or chain of command. Commanders are responsible for maintaining good order and discipline within their organizations. Alternative avenues for reporting and including family support services, equal opportunity and equal employment opportunity, sexual harassment, assault response and prevention. If this occurs or you see something or occurs to another soldier online, i.e. during drill weekend or not, you are required to report that to your chain of command. So we're going to go over social media myths. So it's my device. I can do whatever I want. What I say on social media does not impact my job. The Army does not have the authority to check my social media. I can use my personal email for whatever I want. So it's important to know and to always remember that you are a representation of the Army in and out of this uniform. So we must always conduct ourselves as professionals regardless of our duty status, if we're at drill weekend or not. Next slide, please. So we just talked about if you see something, say something. If you can intervene when it's safe, do so. So we're going to talk about strategies to combat discrimination. So our 3 bullets here is education, awareness, and bystander intervention. So education promotes awareness. So unit training, courses, small group discussions. So I'm encouraging you guys to write down things that we're talking about. If you think of something, a lot of times with briefings, when we raise hands and stuff and we get our creative juices flowing, that's a learning technique. So when you're hearing somebody talk or you're reading off of a slide, you, from whatever your backgrounds, perspectives, educational background, you're going to hear things a certain way and you're going to take a certain part of that with you. Whereas when somebody else reads something or hears something, they hear something totally different or they get a different perspective. So group discussion is huge as far as information retention and all of the things. So be jotting things down so you guys can talk about those in your small groups for this virtual drill. So topics related to the basis of discrimination can be addressed, including how they dehumanize people. So you should always be emphasizing how soldiers are treated with dignity and respect. What is awareness? So in the summer, we actually have a month, it's June, I believe, where the Army honors all walks of life. And that is like our history month to honor all of the different cultures that are within the Army. So like I said, we have that month where we can celebrate different groups and stuff like that. When you're exposed to different types of cultures and ethnicities and stuff, it just helps you have awareness of the contributions that these groups have made to the military in the United States, and just kind of helps you learn and understand more about the people to your left and your right. So what is a bystander? A bystander is anyone who sees or otherwise becomes aware of behavior that appears worthy of comment or action. Bystander intervention includes developing the awareness skills and personal courage needed to intervene in a situation when another individual may need help. See something, say something. Bystander intervention sends a message about what is acceptable and expected behavior in the Army. So keeping your battle buddies accountable for their actions. So what are some reasons that bystanders often hesitate to act or intervene? They have a fear of loss of relationships with the problem person or with others who may disapprove of action. They fear retaliation, especially if they may not be believed or they may be viewed as troublemakers or viewed as violating other community norms. So these are very loquacious ways to say these things, but let's be honest. Somebody says something or is treating somebody a certain way and there's a whole bunch of people around, maybe some are laughing. We have that little feeling like, oh, this is wrong, or I think that, I should stand up for this person, but what are people going to think about me or say if I interject or I, stand up for this person? So a lack of competence or uncertainty about what action would be best, not really knowing how to tackle the situation, or they believe someone will take action, perhaps someone else with more authority or expertise. So you experience, somebody that outranks you behaving in a way, you definitely don't want to be treated like crap or be that soldier. So with each person taking cues from people around them, a common result is that no action is taken. So what do you think can be done about this problem? As soldiers and members of the community, we have a responsibility to help each other. One strategy that it gives for you guys is avoid being a passive bystander. intervening regardless of what others are doing, and don't worry about being wrong. It is better to be wrong than to have done nothing. Be on the lookout for situations that may require some intervention. Learn how to recognize indications and always be aware of what is going on around you. As a bystander, it is much easier to recognize and encourage positive social behavior. It takes some practice and courage to intervene, discourage, or stop unacceptable behavior. There are many strategies associated with active bystander intervention. Talk to the person, ensure they're doing okay, make it an excuse to get that person away from someone or the situation, or point out someone's disrespectful behavior in a safe and respectful manner. That tends to de-escalate the situation. So it doesn't mean you got to call somebody out and provoke them and make the situation worse. So, safety first. Before you act, you should think about the following. How can you keep yourself and the victim in the situation safe? What are the options available to you? Who else might be able to assist you in this situation? What are the pros and cons of acting? Decide how to help. Be friendly, be firm, and at all costs avoid any violence. When in doubt, you guys, trust your gut. Instincts are there for a reason. When a situation makes us feel uncomfortable, it's generally a good indicator that something is not right. Next slide. The complaint system. So you guys go ahead and reference the slide, but basically what I'm going to talk about for you guys with us in the National Guard, myself and Staff Sergeant Kenneth Presley we are your EOL leaders, your equal opportunity leaders. So if you guys have a formal or an informal complaint, or just want to know more about the complaint process, or what outlines what a complaint is, if you feel like you're being discriminated against, you can talk to us, pull us aside, and we can have a private chat. At the point that it becomes a formal complaint, however, that is when you sit down, if you come to me and that's something that you would like to do, we will bring in our EOA, our Equal Opportunity Advisor. And for the 45th FAB, that is Major Yo, and myself or Staff Sergeant Presley, whoever you're comfortable with, will assist that EOA or Equal Opportunity Advisor in your complaint process as we bring in the commander to address any issues that you guys have. So for the informal complaint, this allows you as a soldier to file something in writing to basically verbally put down any inappropriate behavior without requiring a full investigation. And it doesn't necessarily have to be reported to the chain of command either. When considering the use of this process, these are the following factors. It's not required to be filed in writing. It could just be a verbal conversation with myself or Staff Sergeant Presley. Should be resolved at the lowest level and can use a third party. So for example, Private Joe hurt my feelings and I can't talk to him directly. I'm gonna bring in Private Mark and I'm gonna take him with us to go talk to Private Joe and talk about that situation, because I can't talk to Private Joe about what happened, but I'm still taking care of it at the lowest level. Note. So again, it's not required to be filed in writing. These complaints can just be voiced to the offending party or someone in position of authority, or both, including myself or Sergeant Presley. The intention is so that the offending behavior will cease to exist, and then there is no further action required. For a formal complaint, this is where you as a complainant file in writing and swears to the accuracy of the information. So formal complaints require very specific actions. They're subject to timelines and require documentation of the action taken. While the decision on whether to file a formal complaint rests with the individual, consideration should be based on the following factors: inability to resolve informally, Issue may warrant an official investigation. Soldier wants an official record of complaint and a defined complaint and timeline. Okay, 271, that concludes your annual EO training. If any of you have questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Sergeant Presley. As I've said before, we are equal opportunity leaders and we are here for you.